And you'll have to wear a mask to enjoy a little Disney magic. Today at Walt Disney World, the Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom reopened for the first time in almost 4 months. Epcot and Disney's Hollywood Studios open on Friday. Florida reported more than 11,000 new cases. Again, the state is beginning to run out of hospital beds and testing supplies. COVID-19 gives us plenty to discuss with tonight's panel, so let's dive right in. Joining us this evening are Mississippi State Senator Angela Turner Ford. Mississippi's legislature has had an outbreak of coronavirus cases. Also with us is Dr. Ebony Hilton, an associate professor of anesthesiology and critical care medicine at the University of Virginia. And Hayes Brown is the host of BuzzFeed's podcast, News O'Clock. Good to see all of you. Dr. Hilton, let me start with you. When you see Disney World reopening today as the cases and the hospitalizations are rising in Florida, how do you view that? The theme parks, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, they all seem to be taking pretty aggressive measures to keep people safe, including turning away people at the gate if they don't have proper masks or if they have a fever.
It's not enough. Thank you for having me for one. But what we know is that Florida just announced that 7,000 children were testing positive from COVID-19. And who tends to go to these theme parks but kids? What we're seeing across the nation is that our tests, although we're plateaued on how many tests we're performing, our positive cases are increasing and our death rates are starting to increase for the first time since mid-April. So this is not the time to go and have a festival at a park to ride rides. People are dying, and we need to take this seriously.
Doctor, do you think that there is any safe way that these parks, and we should note Universal is a corporate cousin of MSNBC through our parent company, NBC Universal. Do you think there is any way for these parks to reopen safely right now?
No. What we know with the parks is that it causes people to be packed into very close quarters. What we know is that these rides, when you're excited, you scream, and that, again, forces out more of these viral particles. It's just not the time. Yes, we need to open our economy. Yes, we need to kind of stimulate the growth and the economic well-being of our nation, but we have to do it when it's right. And we have to have the 3 T's of testing, tracing, and treatment in place before we can move forward safely.
State Senator Ford, at last count, 26 Mississippi legislators have come down with COVID-19. Your colleagues just made news for removing the Confederate battle flag from the state flag. How is Mississippi doing now in taking care of both residents and your colleagues?
Thank you, Joshua, for having me on the panel this evening. The governor has actually signaled, Governor Reeves has signaled that he's going to issue an executive order on Monday requiring that 13 counties across the state that those citizens be required to wear a mask when they're in public and in social gatherings. There's some pushback, but certainly there are positions that, that perhaps that approach is not strong enough. Certainly, it's a step in the right direction. So I think that the governor is taking an approach that will push us towards safety. I just hope that the residents of Mississippi will take heed.
Hayes, what impact do you think the video of President Trump wearing a mask might have? Masks have become a kind of political clapback, or not wearing them has become a kind of political clapback against liberals and authority figures and the medical establishment. How might today's images, which we're looking at right now, affect that, if at all?
I mean, I'm really afraid that the horse has left the barn. The horse is 5 miles down the road and coming nowhere near the barn again. The thing is, I'm very glad that the president clearly has listened to his advisors and worn this mask at Walter Reed Hospital. I'm glad that the president's finally taking precautions for people around him and showing that you should take precautions for people around you, similar to those that he is required at the White House to be around him. Now, as far as whether this actually solves anything as far as the culture war that the president has helped push forward, I don't know. I'm hopeful that the president's supporters will see this, that they will accept it. I mean, already on Twitter, some of the president's strongest advocates online are trying to show that the president is being strong, brave, courageous, that this with this one fell stroke, the president has won the November election against Joe Biden. But it remains to be seen whether that actually has any real effect besides maybe some less trolling online.
Dr. Hilton, minority communities, especially black and brown people, have borne the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic in the U.S. How do you see the efforts to address this right now? Are we making progress?
I think our progress is slow to be made. What we know is that we still don't have race and ethnicity reported for every case or for every death. That's inexcusable. At this point, we know that racial health disparities did not start with COVID-19. It won't end with COVID-19. And what we're seeing, though, with this pandemic is that it hasn't been of importance to the United States to determine why are Black and brown people dying at higher rates for nearly every disease process that we have. And this has been happening literally since the beginning of the United States, since 1619 when Africans first came here. So with this pandemic, what we know is that Black people you're 2.5 times more likely to die. You're 5 times more likely to be infected. And it's not slowing, particularly that now the South is impacted. We know that African Americans tend to live in the South, and it's towards the Southwest. We're going to get our Hispanic Americans. So our disparities, I fear, are going to just continue to increase.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.